Welcome to the Motivational Medium podcast. I'm Anne-Marie Lord, a psychic medium, author, and the founder of the Motivational Medium Academy. On this podcast, we'll explore intriguing topics such as mediumship, psychic abilities, and the amazing idea that we all have intuition within us. Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or somewhere in between, get ready to unlock your extraordinary potential as we discover the supernatural world together. If you want your questions featured on the show, be sure to join my tribe by subscribing to my newsletter at annemarielord.com. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited today because on today's podcast, I have the beautiful Hannah Macintyre from the UK. And she's agreed to come on and talk to us of all things mediumship. Welcome, Hannah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Anne-Marie. I'm really excited to be chatting to you.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I'm so excited you agreed to come on. One of the things I always talk about on the podcast is how I met the person that I interview, because I know you guys that are listening to this know that I have a lot of friends that pop on the podcast, and Hannah, about 5 minutes ago, has agreed to become my friend. I've recruited her.
Yay!
Hannah popped up on my Instagram. It was a recommendation to connect with her. And I just loved looking at her stuff. And I felt like her energy was really good. She had the same, well, I thought ethics as myself. She had the same sense of humor as myself, which I absolutely loved. And I absolutely loved how she delivers her messages from spirit with absolute pure love and empathy, really, and fun as well, because we can't leave the fun out. So, Hannah, thank you so much for agreeing to come on this. I know we've only just met, so we're going to roll with this and see where it takes us, yeah? One of the questions I always ask my guests on the show, what is your biggest accomplishment and why?
Probably being a medium, to be honest, because as you know, it's not the easiest of paths to follow. And it has been very difficult. There was a lot of time where I felt that the universe was trying to tell me that it wasn't the path for me. But actually, I think they need to build resilience in you. They need to get you a little bit tougher, a little less green, a little bit more aware. And so that all happens through what I call spiritual slaps, which is being beaten up by experiences. And 10 years in, 11 years in, I'm still here. A little war-torn, perhaps, a little bit wiser, definitely, but I can't believe that I've made it. It's been such a bumpy ride. So that to me would be my biggest achievement.
That's amazing. And I totally get what you're talking about. I used to call it going back into my nursing closet because I was a nurse previous to coming out my closet. And that's what I did. I used to come out the closet and I'd get a slap, as you call it. And then I'd think, okay, no, I'm going for promotion in nursing. And I'd go back in, climb the ladder. And then I'd just feel like I'd be pushed out again. So I totally agree with you there. I do believe spirit needs us mediums to build resilience, because we do go through a big journey.
Yes.
I think I started this and came out the closet in 2009. So it's been a little bit of a journey.
Yeah.
So when you're teaching, because I'm talking about since 2009 when I started Reiki and started coming out the closet, and then you're talking about 11 years ago there, what would you teach, or how would you teach that resilience to your students? Because I know you teach and I know you're a good teacher. So yeah, how would you do that?
Well, I think the biggest thing, first of all, is people really integrating that they will always be afraid. Because I kept thinking that when I was ready, when spirit wanted me to do the work, the fear would have gone. But the fear is mine. It belongs to me. It doesn't come from spirit. And so when I started to understand that if I wanted this, I was going to have to work through my own fear, my own resistance, and it wasn't going to go anywhere. it was a revelation to me, because all of this time I'd been waiting like a very good girl for permission, but the permission had to come from me. So we talk a lot about that with my students. And I think it's one of those ideas that you can hear and you can understand with your intellect, but until you're having to actually do it, you don't understand the integration of that lesson. So I do put my students in positions where I make them work, because I think the only way to prove to yourself that you can do this is to do it. We can talk about the theory, the philosophy, we can explain how it works, and that's all very useful and very important. But ultimately, there is always a point in every medium's life where they go, well, can I do this or not? And the only way to prove that you can is to do it. So that is sort of the foundation of all of my teaching.
Excellent. And you know, this show is called Motivational Medium because that's what I am. I'm a motivational person. And one of the things I talk about is burn the boats and take the island. I don't know whether you've ever heard that saying. Tony Robbins talks about it. It was about an officer, and there was these guys going to war and they had to fight for this island. And as they were coming up to the island, he said, get out and burn the boats. And they said, well, what if we need to escape? And he said, well, if you burn the boats, you will fight even harder. And that's what I teach as well, you know, like you teach your students, because if you burn them boats, you will show up. Like I say, you talk about fear. I don't know whether you feel the same, but when you show up to do a reading, like I'll see clients in my office and I'll show up of a morning and I'll say my prayers and I'll sit there and I'll meditate and I'll, come on guys, you know, and I'll talk to my guys and my team. But the fear is still there.
Yes.
And it's the fear that makes me show up 100%. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fear has never gone for me. When I do a lot of platform audience demonstrations, and it's always there. And so it hasn't gone anywhere in hundreds of dems. It hasn't gone anywhere in thousands of one-on-one readings. It's always there. So you have to learn to work with it. And you're right, it holds you to account. I think if the fear ever was to go, then you don't really care anymore. You've lost the magic. So it does serve a purpose. Absolutely.
Definitely. Now, the fear can keep you closed or it can help you stand up. And I think that's what we're talking about here in accountability. If you lose that fear, you lose that ability to serve, you know, to show up fully, to still work on yourself. Like, I suppose you do the same, you know, we're always learning every single day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that accountability. So for me, this is really interesting because I show up in my office, and even though I have my fear, I show up every day. Showing up in platform for me is really fearful. And I am back out again at the end of the year and the beginning of next year, or doing platforms. I know, but that fear has already started coming in. So what would you say to your students if they said, okay, that fear is coming in? How could you help your students or any of our listeners that are thinking of doing this path or are on this path, and there's a part of it that they feel stops them or holds them back? What would you say?
Back yourself into a corner, which is exactly the same as the example you've just used. So when I first started demonstrating, it's still the same, to be honest. It's just the venues have got bigger. I book venues, I sell the tickets, I get very nervous, I get very petrified, and I get all wound up. But that's in the moment. So basically what I do is I book venues and then I put it in a box and I don't think about it. And I see the ticket sales coming in, and every now and again it will come up like heartburn and it will go, hi, you're petrified. And I'll go, no, I'm not. And I'll ignore it. And then in the moment, it's too late. There's nothing you can do. The fight or flight when you're about to do a demo, as you will know, is real. There's a huge part of you that just goes, refund all the tickets. It doesn't matter. I don't need to do this. See you suckers later. I'm gone. But that's okay, because you won't do that because you backed yourself into a corner. So my advice is very non-spiritual, but actually you've done it so beautifully, is just do it. If you're afraid of something, then double down on it. Don't let yourself stop. and then see what you can achieve.
Exactly. You know, Susan Jeffers says it so well, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Absolutely.
You know, it's exactly what we do, isn't it? It's like, and you're standing there and people will say to you, God, you look so calm. Aren't you terrified? I actually hold a mic, and I've decided for me events next year, I'm going to get a mouthpiece so I don't have to hold it. So
Mine is my voice. It lets me down. All my openers, I sound slightly like a goat. Hello, thanks for coming. Because the nerves are all in my voice box and I have to go, oh God, I can hear that, and take a breath. But once I'm started with spirit, the fear goes. It's just that bit where it's me.
that is exactly right. It's once you step into that arena and you step into the power and then you trust, you know, and once you trust, then everything changes, you know. And my husband always says to me, we come home from an event and you are glowing. It's like you've really served, you know,
Yeah.
that purpose.
Yeah.
So I wish we could hold on to that and not the fear.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I talked to you about something in the beginning. Thanks for sharing that as well, because I'm sure some of the listeners there who are working as mediums or who are stepping into this arena have that fear. And, you know, just do it.
Absolutely.
You learn every day. There was a lady just before we go on to talk about dementia and connecting with spirit that is still here. There was a lady, she was a medium, and she put something on her Facebook. It was a Facebook or an Instagram the other day. And I thought about me and you. And she said, when you're standing there and you deliver a message and you know, like, you know, you've got this spirit standing next to you, and then the tumbleweed comes and no one takes the message. And she's like, you know, there's someone got to be taking this message. And then you get the arm folded, you know, and it's like, no one's taken this message. What would be the advice that you would give?
Trust in spirit. I have seen so many mediums who go, oh, wrong show. Oh, they're not for anybody here. And I think we forget when we offer out a spirit to the audience, it feels like you've lived 17 lifetimes before anyone puts their hand up. But in reality, it's been 3 or 4 seconds and they are trying to process. So it's easy when you know who you think is going to come through and you think about the pieces of evidence they're going to bring. It's a very comfortable space as a sitter. But as mediums, we will, because of the way that we receive information, sometimes receive unexpected information from the spirit. And so they're having to process, did my granddad do this? Does that sound like my dad? Through the filter of what they would expect their parents, their loved ones to bring in. And I think for us, we offer it out and we expect it to go like that. And sometimes it does. But when it doesn't, that's when you have to hold your power. So my advice is very simple. You go through your evidence again. You don't go, oh, okay, never reach for more. It's the urge is to go, right, I'm going to get something else to prove. Stop. Go back through what you've already got, because 9 times out of 10, you'll say exactly the same thing again and it will just click for somebody. And you've got to allow them that grace. If you do reach a point where you've gone through it all, you've really, really tried, I always honor the spirit by still giving their message, because I know that they have come for a reason. And in honesty, Anne-Marie, in all the time I've been working now, I think that I have got 2 or 3 that no one's ever contacted me about. But every other one where it's been tumbleweeds, there's been crickets, no one's taken it. Someone has taken it afterwards. They were just too upset, too unexpected, still processing, nervous. They had audience fear. So they are always taken. So you do the best to honor that spirit just as you would if they were taken.
That's right. And do you know, it's funny because I also teach that in sitting with one-on-one person, because I always say to people, you know, I won't change what I've got. I can't change what I've got, and I won't make it fit, because if you do that, I believe, and you probably do believe the same, but I believe that we've got to honor spirit and we've got to honor that what they've shown us is for that person. and to change it or to move, I feel would be to dishonor, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You just got to double check.
that's right. And a lot of the time, they will pick up that message because it's like, what do we call it? Reader amnesia, sitting there. I remember a lady one time and I brought this guy through and it was in a den. And I was saying, Robert. And he even showed me the flat cap and everything. Not one person took it. And I reckon there was about 150, 200 people there. And at the end of it, she come up to me and she said, I'm really sorry. That was me dad. I said, can you just put that on my Facebook so everyone else doesn't know that I'm shite?
Absolutely.
And I was laughing with her.
Yeah. And I think we have such a strong idea of what our loved ones are going to bring in that it can sometimes limit us with other evidence. And I believe it's a collaboration. So I think that the spirit is bringing through the best evidence they can bring through me. If I wasn't involved and spirit could speak in direct voice and do all of that, then they would just say, hi, love, it's me, your dad. My name's Jim, blah, blah, blah. And they would bring through everything that the sitter expects. But there is also the energetic experience of me and what I am able to bring through. And that has its own limits. So they are working the best they can through my mediumship, which means it isn't always what people expect. It isn't always the way that they expect it. And that's why we have to educate people about how it really works.
Brilliant. I literally did a podcast on this. I think it was the last episode or the episode before, because mediumship, it's not as simple as you said, hi, this is your dad, thanks for looking after me garden for me or whatever, We as interpreters, we have to interpret and try and bring that through as close to the essence of the spirit as we can possibly get, and that I feel is an absolute huge responsibility in itself.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to talk to you about dementia. Now, you guys that have listened to me podcast before will know that I've spoken about this before. And I love to get other mediums' take on this, really, because it was such a shock to me when I brought somebody through who was still here, but who had dementia and who was in end stage dementia. So, Hannah, what would you say? Have you ever done this? Has this ever happened to you?
Yes, it has. Exactly the same as you. You're sitting there thinking, but how? How does this work? I think it's really comforting because when we see people who are suffering with dementia, or sometimes it could be someone who's in a coma or something like that. And from our human perspective, all we can see is all that they have lost, whether it be their mind and their thoughts and their faculties, or their body and their ability to move. And we're wondering what experience they are having. And I just think it's incredible to know that they aren't trapped as we envisage them to be trapped. I'm sure your experience of spirit world is the same as mine. It's phenomenal over there.
Yeah.
This is the hard place.
That's right.
And so they are already in the love and the wonder and the ease. And so I think it's really, really incredibly comforting and quite amazing.
You look like I do. It's like when, I've literally just lost my mum-in-law 2 weeks ago, and she had dementia for 10 years, but her last, I would say, must be about 5 years, has been awful, and she's been trapped within this body. And sometimes I'd be driving up the road, coming home from work, and, you're still buzzing with spirit round you, and I'd get a glimpse of it in the back of the car, and Margaret, is that you? And I'd get this feeling that she was around, and I was so overjoyed that she was out of that body. It was unbelievable. But when she passed away, it gave me so much comfort. I was so sad to see my brother-in-laws and my husband and my sister-in-law and how sad they was, and also my children. But I got so much comfort to know that she was free, and I could just see her. I could just see this freedom, and it was overwhelming. So she connected. I don't know how to even explain this. Maybe you can explain this. I felt like that soul that I'd seen before she passed. And then the soul that left, the remainder soul, this is the only way that I can try and explain it, that connected and she was whole again. And that for me gave me so much joy.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? I think you're exactly right there. I don't believe that all of our soul incarnates. I believe it's just a part. So if you were to think of our souls like a pizza, it's one slice that comes here to live the life. There's other slices living other lives. And then when we return to the spirit world, we become the entire pizza.
Oh my God, that is so true. I absolutely agree with you. I literally had this conversation with my husband about maybe 4 weeks ago. I said to him, there's a part of us that comes here. I don't believe it's the whole, we get this whole soul that comes. I believe that there's a part of us. I see this a lot with children in spirit or who didn't quite make it to this earth, through stillborn or whichever has happened to them. I see that they said a part of their soul came, but a part of their soul is coming back, and that I believe, is what happens, is what spirit shows us.
Yeah, I had a lady who'd lost a baby in a den. The baby came through the other day. And then the spirit was reminding me in that moment that because we don't fully incarnate with our entirety of our soul here, their souls are already together. So the pizza slice of her that is here feels separate from her baby and feels like she's missed out on her baby. But the bigger portion of herself is actually with that baby and with that baby's soul, because I think a lot of mums wonder who's with their baby, who's got their baby, is their baby okay? And it's kind of incredible to realize that they are with their baby.
Yeah.
There is no separation. I love it.
I know, it's fascinating, isn't it? There's so much that we don't know. Even people like me and you who are working and walking this walk, the stuff we find out every single day on this journey that just blows my mind. I don't know whether you're the same.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I've just got to quickly tell you this. It was last week, I think it was. And I was reading for a lady who came to see me. And her cousin came in. She passed really quick. She only passed within a few weeks. And she was showing me some evidence of how she'd passed and all this stuff that I was given as evidence. And sometimes you get tested by the sitter. And the sitter sat there and she said to me, she's a lovely lady, and she said to me, okay, if she's with her dad, can you tell me what the dad did for a living? And your earth brain kicks in, as I call the conscious mind, and I'm thinking, oh no, And next minute, I could see the lady in spirit and she was laughing at me. I could see the dad. And then I could see Elvis and I could see his leg going and he was like, and all this. And I was like, okay, what is going on? And I thought the dad must have been an Elvis impersonator or something. Well, I could see like America and I was like, did he marry people in America? And I just said to the lady, look, you're going to think I'm crazy. I said, but I've just seen Elvis. I said, was he an Elvis impersonator? And she started laughing and she's like, oh my God. She said, no. She said, he was the trumpet player for Elvis and his band. And they all lived in America and they all grew up together. Lisa Marie and the lady who I was brought in from Spirit, they grew up together. And I was like, oh my God. But why I brought this up to you was because what they showed me, and this was amazing for me, was the love that transcends, was hearing her dad. Elvis wasn't really Elvis. He was Lisa Marie's dad. Do you get what I mean? So it was,
yeah.
When she goes to the spirit world, she wasn't interested in seeing Elvis. No disrespect for Elvis. Like,
yeah.
She wanted to see her dad. So when we go to the spirit world, the ego or the status of who we are here, it doesn't matter. Love transcends that and we connect back with the people that we love. And that was the message I got from that.
Amazing.
Do you think the same?
Absolutely. I think it's it's a hard thing when people have had difficult relationships. It's a hard thing to compute because we do shuffle off all of the weight of those things and we do become love. And we're still the essence of who we are. If you're bossy and chatty in life, you're going to be a bossy and chatty spirit when you come through because the essence of you, but you have a bigger understanding and you offer people more grace and being reunited. Spirit always show it to me the same way. When I was little, my grandparents on Boxing Day, the whole family would be together and we would arrive at their house and I would ring the doorbell multiple times and I'd be able to hear everybody chatting the other side of the door. And I would know that everybody was there and we were going to have the best time. And that is exactly how they show the experience of going back to the spirit world. Everybody you've missed is just there and waiting and ready to have a great time.
Yes, that's totally how I see it. I have loved doing this with you today and I've loved sharing these experiences. And maybe if we ask very nicely, we might get Hannah back on the podcast again another time.
I'd love to.
That would be brilliant. Now, Hannah, before we wrap up with everything, can you tell us a little bit about some of the teachings and some of the things you've got going on in the UK? Because I know we've got lots of listeners in the UK as well. I've got lots of people over there. So hello.
Hi, everyone. I've got lots going on. I teach. I've got in-person and online teaching. I have got my book, You Are a Medium, You Just Don't Know It Yet, which is a how-to guide to unlock your own spiritual gifts. I have got quite a few demonstrations lined up in the south of the UK. People keep asking me to go further afield, but you will know this, Anne-Marie. It's a logistical nightmare trying to plan everything and find venues. And
yes,
it's a lot of work. So it's not for the faint of heart. I'm doing my best, but loads going on. So yeah, have a look.
Now, where can we find you, Hannah?
On my website's probably the easiest, which is hannahmedium.co.uk.
Fantastic. And we can also find you on Instagram and on Facebook as well, yeah?
Absolutely. I'm at Hannah Medium on Instagram and just look for Hannah Macintyre on Facebook.
Brilliant. Now, all Hannah's details will be on the show notes. So you'll be able to find, because, you know, we post or this podcast is on Spotify, Apple, it's everywhere you can have your podcast. And all Hannah's details will be in the show notes there. So if you're looking to do courses online or even face-to-face and you're in the UK, or you're looking to go to a DEM, then please look up Hannah Macintyre. She is amazing. She is just beautiful and gave us her lovely time today. Now, before we shuffle off this podcast, I want Anna to just, because she's brushed over a book there very, very gently. And I just want Hannah to tell you about this amazing book that she's got. That's just, when did it come out, Hannah?
January.
So it's just this year that it's come out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about who this book is for and what it's about.
Basically, thank you, Anne-Marie. It's essentially a guide on how to do mediumship, because I believe that mediumship is available to everybody if you're willing to work at it. So I didn't know spirit. I wasn't aware of spirit until I was 29. And so it's a bit more than 10 years now, sadly. I'm going to keep holding on to that, though. And it's just everything that I have learned, how it works, why it works the way that it does, what you can do to strengthen your connection. So it's got the mechanics of it, but it's also got activities for you to do at home and give it a go to start building that power and that connection.
Fantastic. And where can we buy this book, Hannah?
It's on Amazon. So easy peasy. Yeah. So You Are a Medium, You Just Don't Know It Yet.
There you go. Fantastic. Hannah, thank you so, so much for coming along. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I feel like we could just chat forever. So we'll definitely get you back on the show if you'd be willing to come along and speak with us again.
I'd love to.
And maybe when I get back over to the UK, hopefully next year, I'll pop in and see you in one of your shows.
That would be fab. You can come and den with me.
That'd be great. We'd have so much fun. And we'll drag you all the way out here to Australia as well.
Oh my God, amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And as I say, if you want any information on Hannah Macintyre, You can get all her information on the show notes, and she's also on my Instagram, and we will be posting this podcast. Yeah, so watch out for Hannah Macintyre. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's important to note that while I'm here to inspire, encourage and guide you, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist or a doctor. Join me again in 2 weeks for more captivating revelations on the supernatural. Remember to be in with a chance to have your questions answered on the podcast. Subscribe to my newsletter at amarylord.com. Stay in the tribe to vibe. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.